I was asked to answer 3 questions about 2 artists. One was Vivian Maier, the other one was Henry Darger. The 3 questions that pertain to both artists were, did these artists want their work to be seen? As far as Vivian was concerned, it's not very clear if she wanted her work to be seen. There's some evidence that she did, but there's more to contradict it. As for Henry, he hinted at people finding his work, but was an extremely introverted individual who kept to himself, so it's possible he did not want his work to be shared. Question 2, if they did, why didn't they when they were alive? For Vivian, there was some evidence that she may have shared some photos with a French man, but other than that, kept her work super private and did not seem to want it shared. Henry also was a private man and did not seem to believe his stuff worth showing to the world. Question 3, are there consequences for those who can't speak for themselves? Yes, there are consequences. 1, neither artist will ever benefit monetarily wise from their work. 2nd, neither one is here to explain their works to the world. They are left for others to piece together. The issue is that most museums don't want art that has no story behind it. As far as the review, question 1, identify the film's main argument and purpose. The Vivian film main argument seems to be who was Vivian and why did she take all these movies and photographs, and why did she not share them with the world because she was really good. The purpose of the film seems to be compiling evidence of who this woman was. Who was she? What did she like? What was she like? Did anybody have any stories to go behind the photographs? As far as Henry goes, the main purpose of this film did not really have an argument per se, but was to bring to light his autobiography as well as his story about his world he lived in his head. It helped others to understand his thoughts and ideas behind his works of art and gives us an insight into the world as he saw it. The second question was provide a brief summary of the film, the characters, the plot, etc. With Vivian's film, it starts off with a man named John Malov, how he discovered Vivian's work. The rest of the film goes between John trying to find answers as to why she never shared her work and those people who knew her explaining that she was an eccentric individual who valued her privacy and did not want to let people inside. It showed some of the photos she took as well as some of her collections. As far as Henry, the plot of the film follows both his autobiography as well as his story in the realms of the unreal, which seems to come from his imagination. It talked about the war waged between an evil land that enslaved children and the Christian army that was trying to defeat it. His autobiography talks about his life and frustrations as well as the world around him and his take on it. The film was done well with multiple individuals voices dictating different parts of his manuscript. As far as how does the structure of the film achieve its purpose, in Vivian's, the structure of the film is that of interviews of different people that knew her, whether it was because they were nannied or friends of the family she worked for at the time. It served a purpose to bring to light who Vivian was, who she was as a person. The film, I believe, served its purpose well, but left the question hanging, what would she want done with her work? As far as Henry goes, the structure of his film was used clips from his manuscript in the realms of the unreal, read by different voices as the characters as well as clips and animations of his canvases. They intertwined with parts of his autobiography to help the listener understand aspects of his manuscripts and to understand what was going on around him. I think I forgot examine the film's argument. So the answer to that was, throughout the film, there are many people for Vivian who had stories about her. The argument always came back with people saying she would not have wanted her life so exposed. It was supported through many people. Whereas Henry, his story was supported through images and clips of his canvases that paired up with his story, as well as recollections of neighbors who had the privilege of knowing him in person. As far as how valid is the argument, are there contradictions or inconsistencies? The argument is a valid argument. Vivian was an eccentric person. She was extremely private and did not want people into her living space. The argument really came down to would she want her work publicized. Some people said no, absolutely not, and that she would not have even liked John digging into her life. A few said she would have wanted her work appreciated, but would not have wanted to be named or have herself involved in any way. I don't think there was ever a clear answer to this. As far as Henry goes, I honestly do not believe that there was an argument in this film. It was more informative of who he was mentally and physically, as well as the situations around his life and circumstances. This included, obviously, the excerpts from his manuscript as well as the autobiography and canvases. As far as contradictions or inconsistencies, I would say that Henry himself was the person that kept to himself with really few exceptions, did not interact with people, and did not welcome people into his life. So do we really know if he wanted his works to be published or kept private? not really. There was a time he mentioned if found, he hoped people would read and understand his work, but on the flip side, he told one of his friends who recognized his art as good that it was too late now. So honestly, leaves one to speculate if he ever wanted his work out there or not.